to unpack the findings and what this really means for Houston and Houston's future. So, Pablo, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you for having me.
A question or you would like to join the conversation, you can give us a call or send us a text, 713-440-8870. Now, Pablo, just right off the bat, something that immediately jumped out to me, and walk us through this. Houston has the highest poverty rate among major U.S. citizens,
yes.
U.S. cities, at 21.2%.
Sure. Yes.
What does that mean?
It means that people are struggling. I mean, so this is the bottom line from the report. We see a city that's growing. Economic activity remains strong, but there are some members of our population that are struggling and falling behind. And I think that's the bottom line from this report. We're trying to supplement the data that we get from the BLS and the census and translate into what's happening within the household. And so the idea is that what we observe is, rising costs are likely to put people below the poverty line. So if your income doesn't rise, but your expenditures do, we have a poverty level that we measure, and so people are going to fall below that poverty level because their income is not adjusting.
What is the poverty level for this study?
So the poverty level from this study comes from the census, from the American Community Survey. That's the baseline that we use, and that poverty level is roughly $34,000, and it's like for a household, and it's like and rises, and it's like to depending on this household size, and that's could be problematic because it doesn't account for the cost of living. That's why we do this survey to identify, how that might be impacting the households in the Houston area.
So a fifth of us are under the $30,000 mark.
Yes.
That surprises me.
That is.
Does it surprise you?
It doesn't surprise because it's been showing the data all along, and it's like goes up and down as inflation goes up and down, and and so people fall behind. There's a structural poverty, but there's also poverty that happens, based on conditions that are frictional. And so you lose your job, you might fall behind. We saw that during Harvey. And inflation goes up, so your income doesn't not match, and so for the people hovering below and above, they might fall, and that's what you observe. So it's not surprising because we've been observing it all along. And remember, Houston, and especially people who live wage earners in Houston, have been struck with many different natural disasters and COVID and the like, and we observe that in our studies of the impact of Hurricane Harvey. We do see that wage earners were the first to fall. Behind because there was closing, right? And the next level, right? We got COVID, and then last year we got buried, and those people, cannot make their ends meet.
Well, can I put it in perspective real quick? That's like a $15 an hour wage. Yeah. You're going to make about $30,000 a year at $15 an hour. So most people would say, well, the minimum is half of that. Yeah. So a $15 an hour job sounds pretty good, but it isn't.
It's not, because the basic costs that you're facing are rising. You're facing food costs are going up, energy costs are going up, the cost of education are going up, housing, in particular, is going up, and those are going to affect your bottom line.
Sure. I know in Houston we have had a struggle with this poverty level for a while now. But there was a period where it was worse, and then we were doing better for a while, and now we're doing worse again.
Yes.
Why do you see that change? And to add to that question, you kind of approached it, but we're not the only city dealing with this across the state or across the country. Why is Houston being hit the worst?
So, these are all relative terms. A comparison of a 2 percentage point difference in poverty rates is not that meaningful, right? It puts it out there because we're, at the top of the list, right? And also, it's a phenomenon. Not only, doesn't hit the whole metropolitan area. It's a city of Houston issue. If you move outside the city of Houston, the suburban areas, are below the state poverty level. So that tells you the composition of who lives in the city and the resources that they have available to themselves is impacting these conditions.
But if we not, as a city, evolved as well as other cities when it comes to opportunity and jobs?
We have the issues that we had more people coming to the city, based on those opportunities and jobs. And more people coming to the city puts strains on the resources that they need to get by. And so that gets compounded when you get some crisis. And this is something I wanted to talk at some point. Why we have so many programs aimed at alleviating poverty, and they don't seem to have an impact. And that's an important thought.
And I think that's what's so interesting to me, right? Is that economic growth. When you think about Houston, we continue to see that we are such a diverse city. We continue to grow. You know, we've talked about that, but yet this report comes out. And so what are you seeing within the households specifically that you can tell us is unique to Houston?
So what's unique, and it's not unique to Houston, but it's impacting Houston is that other cities, is that people are concerned about cost of living. I mean, that comes at the top of the list on our survey. Cost of living and inflation, I mean, it's like including household and energy prices are at the top. And those have been hitting us, and it's like dramatically in the past few years. Then there's something specific about Houston, and it's like we keep getting natural disasters, and it's like constantly. Right? Every year or so, we have a big hit, and that tends to hit the worse the people who are not ready to. I mean, it's like who don't have savings. I mean, it's like or people who may lose their jobs, or people who live off of wages, hourly wages. That cannot happen when the city closes down.
Right.
Right. So if your transportation system collapses, I mean, because it's a flood, I mean, it's like, or if the businesses you're working at, I mean, it's like get flooded and they have to shut down, you don't get your income, right? And that's really impactful. I mean, it's like during COVID as well. And we tend to see that the people who suffer during natural disasters also suffer during economic downturns, and they tend to also suffer during COVID in particular.
We have a question from YouTube, and it's a good one. So the moment someone falls below the poverty line, what new avenues of support open up for them, if any?
We have many of those. I mean, it's like at the state, at the local, state, and federal level. The main issue is that the uptake for many of these resources, right, from SNAP, I mean, it's like, I mean, to housing assistance and so on. We have many of these programs developed with the public sector, but with nonprofit organizations. We work with them a lot. The main issue is that they identify the target population who might be suffering, but the uptake does not match the population. And this is something we're studying at this stage. So why is it that you might be eligible for that program, but you don't take on that program? And it might be that these people might be working several jobs that they don't have the time, and it's like to apply, or they don't have the paperwork needed. I mean, it's like this was particularly true during the paycheck protection plan during COVID. People were eligible, but they didn't have a bank they could go to, or they didn't have the documentation to justify that they were losing their paycheck. And so we have these programs, but the uptake in the target population, I mean, it's like is not 100%. And most people who tend to fall behind are people who are, as we call them, it's like underserviced in our communities. And there are efforts. I mean, it's like the city of Houston had, I mean, this complete communities project several years ago, where I tried to engage with community-based organizations to try to bring in people who will be eligible for jobs. But let me give you another example that's really with one of the nonprofits we work over the years. So East Harris County has the largest level of self-employed people, right? People who tend to work, I mean, it's like mowing lawns, I mean, it's like selling food, I mean, it's like a local service and so on. East Harris County has the lowest level of incorporation, I mean, in the whole city. It says that those people who are, I mean, it's like independent workers have not incorporated their businesses. And that does not allow them to reach, I mean, it's like to have a bank account or to go to, I mean, it's like a government agency and qualify for some support from the Small Business Administrations, and they cannot justify their income and their sources, I mean, it's like for getting benefits from other organizations. That's the main issue that we observe here. We build resources aimed at, as Nani was talking about before, supporting people who fall behind, but the uptake is not, and it's like the one that we would want.
But, we're talking about, when we look at Houston, you're looking at the economic challenges and things, but Houston also has so much industry. And I understand that you're talking about independent, businesses or workers who haven't incorporated their businesses. But, okay, so we talked about the high cost of living. We looked at the wage stagnation. That's not happening. But job availability.
Job availability is not that bad. I mean, it's like when you look at the unemployment rate for the Houston area, it's like very close to the national average. Right? I mean, it's like so opportunities are there. The point is that the city and the area are not doing bad economically. Right? So the point is that some people within that economy are falling behind.
Yeah.
When we talk about folks being affected by the poverty level, we population numbers wise have less than like New York City.
Sure.
Percentage wise, we have more, but New York's and once again, we're talking about small little percentage differences. Can we look to a place like New York City and say, are they doing something different? Because the regions feel very different, yet we're both facing the exact same problem. What can we learn or do differently than they're doing?
We have thought about this very seriously. I mean, it's like another project in addition to the Space City panel that we run. I mean, it's like we're following people and trying to supplement administrative data. We have built measures of vulnerability, resiliency, adaptability, and preparedness at the local level. So there are some of these indices built by the CDC and FEMA that apply the same weights for all places. Right? I mean, so what makes you vulnerable, for instance, in New York City might be different from what makes you vulnerable here. For instance, being Hispanic in some areas is one of the metrics we use for vulnerability. It catches a lot of issues. It might be issues about age, income, education, and so on. And the Houston is very different because most people here are Hispanic, so that's not a vulnerability. I mean, it's like, so we have to adjust our weights. So we build these indices and we show that there are some things that might work elsewhere that work here. So here we have very low density, and it's like in terms of population density. That makes it really hard to provide services, right? Because you have to extend your services further in order to reach the same number of people, right? It's like, and so that creates a tension. I mean, it's like, and so, and as the city or the inner part of the city start getting more expensive in terms of affordability, people have to move further. So not having access to a car or higher prices of fuel, even if it's lower than other areas, are going to impact, I mean, people's living, and they have to move further out to be able to.
Do you feel this trend is moving in this direction, that it's going to continue to grow this poverty level, or do you see this as once again, the roller coaster we've been experiencing?
So when you look at the data, it's going to be a roller coaster. I mean, it's like, for sure. What we had in the past, I mean, this is one thing that has completely changed in the Houston area. So because before the 2000s and through the 90s, the economic cycles in the Houston area depending on the price of oil.
Right.
So you'd see, I mean, jobs would go up and down. I mean, it's like as the price of oil would go up and down, wages would go up and down. People would come to the city or leave the city, and it's like as a function of the cycle of the energy sector. That has completely decoupled after the 2000s, right? Mm-hmm. So just look at housing prices, right? So housing prices before would follow the cycle of the price of energy, not anymore, because we have a very vibrant city with sectors like the health sector and it's like manufacturing, med center, and so on. And all those industries, I mean, it's like are putting a cushion between the price of energy and oil and what the city does. So people are not following that cycle. They're not leaving the city when the jobs are not there, and they stay behind, and they cannot find. Some of them cannot find jobs. So the point is, Houston is doing great. Some people in Houston are not. That's the message that we find here, and I think that might call. I mean, it's like for our attention. I mean, it's like from affordable housing to supporting. I mean, it's like initiatives. I mean, it's like it might be business can help some remain in their jobs if you provide, for instance, access to childcare. Right? I mean, it's like, or if you provide, I mean, it's like assistance during times of crisis, right? Or if you promote, or if you can promote, I mean, it's like development of financial resources.
Okay, we have to move on, but thank you so much.
Pablo Pinto is the director of the University of Houston's Center for Public Policy and a professor at the Hobby School. Pablo, this is a fascinating conversation. Yeah. Thank you for joining us today on Hello Houston.
It's always a pleasure being with you guys. Thank you.
Okay, folks, okay. This is my talk radio for today. Houston Public Media. I'm always listening to talk radio. While running errands, I had to go get something to eat for lunch. What they're talking about is the times right now we're going through. Mostly, this guy was probably hitting to the Democrats who continued again for the 10th time, going on our third week, to not vote and keep the government shut down. The Democrats are doing this, shutting the government down. And I'm going to say this right now. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm an independent. So I speak, in my view, the truth. The ones being affected by this most are the people who vote for the Democratic Party. The Democrat Party is hurting its own people by keeping the government shut down. They're not hurting the Republicans as much. They're hurting the Democrats a whole lot more. Like this gentleman was saying, in the inner city of most urban cities is where a lot of your low income people live. They live inside the city. So, and so forth. And he's talking about the times right now, with inflation right now and all that was passed on by, old Joe, big lost Joe, corrupt Joe. He's talking about inflation, high interest rates on the housing industry that's caused by the corrupt Fed chairman who's corrupt, has been corrupt. And if they're going to be mad at anybody, you got to be mad at the Democratic Party, who has made this thing, who has shut the government down, going on the third week. They refuse to vote because the Democrats want illegal migrants to get free medical care and free government tax benefits from social programs like food stamps, Section 8 and all that, and free medical. These are not American people. These are illegal migrants. I want you guys to know that. The Democrats are fighting to keep the Obamacare going so they can give illegal migrants free food, free housing, and free medical care, which I think is totally ridiculous. So be careful who you listen to on these social media chats. You got people out here who are putting out the wrong information to y'all and everything. They're putting out wrong information about the National Guard. They're putting out wrong information about people in the military, who've been in the military. I know I used to be in the military. So you got guys out here who never been in the military, like we have. I know I served in 2 wars. Got guys who never been in the military running their mouth about how the military, active duty military people, should go against the president right now, which is not only ignorant to say that. It's very ignorant to say that. It's stupid to say that. Anybody who's been in the military knows that. That's when you go into the military, you take a vow to serve your country. And it doesn't matter who the president is. It doesn't matter who the president is. I don't care if it's Republican or Democrat. You take an oath to follow his orders, and that's it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what party he belongs to. But anyway, you got a lot of people out here who are running their mouths, who don't know anything about anything what's going on, y'all. So that's my talk radio little chat for today that I want to give y'all. I'm going to go inside now and enjoy my little lunch I got. And I want you guys to educate yourself on things. Educate yourself on the laws that are going right now between both sides, between the Democrats and the Republicans. Like I said, I'm an independent. So, and you got to start reading. Start reading and start listening to these social media lost ones out here who don't have a clue what they're talking about, who are just going with the flow to get likes and all that. You guys have a nice day. Remember, find your chi. Return to Life Wayne. Hollering at you.